Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of Talking Assistant. Joining me tonight, as always, Tony Solo and Kelly Toole. Why don't you guys take a second to introduce yourselves?
Hi, Tony. My name's Kelly. Oh,
Hi,
I'm
Tom.
sorry. I'm Kelly Tool at KELITHUL on Twitter. I'm glad to be.
And I am Tony Solo on Twitter, and I'm happy to be here with you guys also.
We're all happy to be here, and unfortunately, I did give something a little bit away in the opening there. This is only episode 4 for the viewers at home, but we shot an extra episode of the show, and something happened that we nipple swore we would never speak of.
So stop speaking of it, Mike.
You're right, Kelly. I'm sorry. Forget that I said any of that, and we'll just start talking about the assistant. And for anyone who's watching at home, make sure you tweet #TalkingAss. Now, gentlemen, the 2 episodes that we were presented with this week introduced a weapon for the first time into the world of Dylan Knows. It was a wiffle ball bat, which is used to hit plastic wiffle balls, if you guys aren't familiar with those things. Now, Kelly, how much does the wiffle ball bat play into the traditional Doctor Who mythology?
I haven't found a lot of direct connections to the Doctor Who mythos and the Wiffleback Company, but I do know that when the Simpsons aired an episode featuring a wiffle ball bat, the Wiffle Ball Company sent them a letter telling them about how they should or should not place their products. So I know Dylan, that I think Doctor Who steered away from it because of the strong arm tactics of the Wiffle Ball Company. So something
Makes
which I don't think
sense.
Dylan's maybe not as afraid of as the Doctor Who franchise.
Well, I mean, he is a Time Lord. Now, it struck me as a very phallic symbol. Is there a lot of penis-related weaponry in the Doctor Who mythos?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of, Mike. That's about all I can say on that.
Tony, what were your thoughts on the weapon?
Um, well, um, back in episode number 9 was the first time we saw Dylan actually have to use a weapon because he was being attacked by, I jokingly call it the assailant, because Dylan is the assistant, so he was attacked by the assailant. And just to remind you guys, something similar happened to me. There was a noise downstairs, and the only thing that I had available was a plunger. And in battle, the only thing that Dylan can grab to kind of defend himself was a lightsaber, a toy lightsaber. And now, had it been a real lightsaber, he probably could have done some damage, but it didn't look like it had the reach of a wiffle ball bat. So it's a pretty good weapon as a wiffle ball bat, if that's all that it is, because it's got a little bit longer of a reach. But I think we might find out that it's just a little bit more than that. But I didn't think there was anything phallic about it, per se.
See, I disagree. It began, I didn't initially think that, but it began when he was walking with the bat and he started talking about the power coursing through its veins, which gave it, to me, an almost biomechanical feel. Now, is that something that's addressed at all in the Doctor Who world, Kelly?
So steampunk is there. And I think, what a deft turn to, steampunk has traditionally been in the kind of brass, copper, leather kind of construct. And so to take the steampunk ethos and introduce wiffle ball material the plastic of a wiffle ball bat it's a big jump. It's a pretty big shift, but I think you could probably draw that analogy that maybe to a degree, Dylan is redefining steampunk in there, which would then create that tie.
Well, now coming to think about it, though, if I remember correctly, usually if you were to go to a store and buy a wiffle ball bat, sometimes they would, well, they always came with a piece of cardboard on them, and inside that cardboard that was wrapped around the bat, there used to be two wiffle balls. And sometimes they were on end, but sometimes they were beside the shaft, one on each side of the shaft, depending on the manufacturer, because there were fake, not official wiffle ball bats out there. And in that sense, sometimes it could be a little bit phallic, now that I think about it.
Well, for me, like I said, it started with the veins, but then when he later gets to the car, if you look at, and we'll talk a second later about the way that scene is shot, because it's brilliant misdirection that really overcomes and triumphs his limited budget that he had in shooting it. We'll talk about that in a second, though. He uses the bat to symbolically break through the window, and through that opening, when he guides us through that opening with the camera, beyond that, what do we see? A car seat.
So almost as if there was a fertility backstory or
Right.
idea behind it. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but getting back to episode number 13, Vision, I'm trying to understand whether or not. So I'm guessing Vision. I don't know if this is a memory coming back to him, or if this is an outside force working and trying to send messages to Dylan. Because if he is a Time Lord, could it be possible that there is a Dylan from another time that placed the bat there? I mean, I don't know if the vision is a dream, or if it's a third party, or if it's all just one and the same.
Well, and that's what throughout that episode, that's the play. Is it vision or is it dream? And so just what you pointed out, Tony, if it's because versions of him or regeneration of him or a pre-generation of him has shown up and done something with that bat, it's a vision because he's piecing together, or is it a dream and there's something different going on? So that was the whole kind of tension throughout that entire episode and walk.
Now, see, to me, going back to my insemination and birth motif with the bat penis, to me, this whole vision reference.
I want to do the Batman voice and repeat your previous line, Mike, but I can't bring myself to do it. Plus, I knew it would become a ringtone.
But on a serious note, though, what if what we're seeing in this vision is a warning to Dylan that there's something inside of him? Maybe during that attack in episode 9, something was put inside of him that's going to be given birth. Something negative, obviously.
Well, and then if you take it and we go into kind of 14, and these really, this is almost like a two-part episode in terms of kind of the continuity where it's just kind of a carrying on of it. But I hadn't picked up on some of the subtleties you had, Mike. But now that you mention it also at the end, what is kind of the final result is Dylan finds one and only one piece of glass remaining, and just like one and only one sperm fertilizes an egg. So I hadn't connected any of these dots until you started to throw some of those things out, but there's potential there.
I want to point out that back in battle, and this is going along to, and I may have planted a seed, but um, I suggested that is it possible that battle was, the inner turmoil within the inner struggle within Dylan, so it was symbolic of that. Um, Mike's theory runs parallel to that in the sense that if there was something implanted within Dylan, but it could be like I was, maybe I wasn't as clear as I could have been, but the turmoil or the inner conflict within Dylan, that was an outward symbol of that. And maybe there is some conflict where, sometimes you have a moral conundrum where you know what you are supposed to do and what you should do is morally right, but in doing so it could hurt people you love or something like that. So it's, um, he may be conflicted in that way, and I'm wondering if that is again more manifestation of that, or did this come right out of battle where he needs a weapon because there is an assailant.
I think these are all excellent theories. Unfortunately, we all have to wait. Dylan doesn't give us any real advanced information. So we watch on the same path that you, as fellow fans of the show, do. One thing, though, I do want to touch on tonight, the sequence where he does break through the window. What did you guys think about that? The way that it was shot, the way it was presented?
Well, you talked about, you mentioned earlier that that it was some high end craftsmanship in terms of what went on in terms of misdirection, because the lead in, the war cry to action for the wiffle ball bat to blow up the car, you're all locked in on the car that's in frame, and really, in battle, tremendously difficult thing to shoot. Dylan was center of frame the entire time, which is an incredibly impressive feat for what he did there. For most of these two episodes, it's almost the same shot of Dylan. I mean, it's a moving shot of Dylan, but the same perspective on Dylan through there until we get to this scene here, and then you're waiting to see what happens, and you're locked in on that car. And I watched it a couple times, and I was waiting and waiting, and then the next thing you know, it's a car over. So I was impressed.
Tony?
Yeah, well, I was impressed too. And if you're watching it, you might think that the whole sequence was out of frame. But hey, well, and this is the mistake that I think Dylan made, because obviously, if I'm gonna, if I had my P-38, my Meridian P-38 space modulator, I would not try it out on my car, but I don't think I would try it out on the car next to mine either. But I think maybe that's what he was going to do, because the car with the broken window is Dylan's actual car, I believe, because he actually says it at the end of that clip. So I guess he was being a douche and he was trying it out on his neighbor's car. So that leads me to the next question. As far as he wasn't that far away from it, he's got to learn how to aim that sucker. He's got some practice time going on with that wiffle ball bat.
Seems to shoot crooked.
He definitely needs to wrap both hands around it.
Yep, and he's got to, I guess you've got to keep it clean. You got to polish it up and keep that barrel clean, keep the barrel of that bat clean, because, you don't want to be shooting blanks with something like that. Rub it up with some pine tar and stuff.
So at the end, he needs to secure the device, and because he has told us it's his car, he uses his trunk as the stronghold for that. Um, and so I'm just a little worried that if the spirit or whatever, his counterpart in battle, whatever that may be, is still around, that's pretty close to home in terms of that. And so I just wonder if, to confuse it, Dylan could do something like set off car alarms in some of the nearby cars, and to create distraction that way. But I am a little worried that he needs to introduce some level of confusion here to keep that thing safe.
Well, I would think that because he was attacked within his own house, that keeping it out in the car would be uh, maybe not the safest or the best place to keep it. I know you don't want the family to get harmed by it, but I'm guessing we would have to do some testing. I mean, I would expect Dylan to test it out to try and figure out how it works, what the capabilities are, see if any, like, take one of the kids, see if they take it out in the forest and point it at trees and stuff, if it does anything.
I don't think that's something he should put in his kids' hands.
Well, if he takes it and lets his child supervise now, see if one of the kids can work it and it does nothing, then it would be something safe for him to have close by in the house. But if if he points it at something in the woods back there and it starts a little fire, then that would be a signal that, hey, you really need to keep this locked up. But then you'd have to live with the consequences if there was an attack by the assailant while the family was in the house and he had to run outside and get the weapon.
So, so Dylan's show continues to, the assistant continues to gain popularity. Allison Victoria, the actress in Swamp Shark, played Girl in Boat, is a big assistant fan at this point. Guilty obsession of hers, as a matter of fact, she said. And because its viewership's going up, our viewership's going up. So for talking assistant, we're now getting some viewer information. So I just wanted to kind of break in a little bit. Lauren Norman's out there, and she had a couple of questions I thought were good. One, Tony, she gave you some props for, and I believe this is the first time I've heard your Marvin the Martian impersonation, and it was very good. So well done, and Laura gave you props for that. So I wanted to mention that. But Laura brought one up, and this is back to Mike's early quest there. Laura's saying, is the wiffle ball bat his TARDIS? Pretty good question.
Well, isn't a TARDIS basically a time machine? Kelly?
Yeah. It's a conveyor between. It's the vehicle you use to go between timelines.
Yeah, so I would say it's
bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Then maybe he needs, whatever the TARDIS is, he needs the wiffle ball bat to unlock it. What if the wiffle ball bat is just the key to the entrance of the TARDIS?
It could be. That could absolutely be. That's frequently the entry mechanism to the TARDIS is the Doctor has a key.
So I was just thinking about some of the other possibilities. Did you have any idea of what we might see next, or how Dylan could proceed with the bat, and how obviously, because it was introduced and it was actually featured in 2 episodes, we're probably going to see, it's probably going to play an integral part in the story going forward.
Oh, definitely. I think the bat is really going to be an extension or an appendage of Dylan's from this point forward. I think we're going to see him try and use it, going back to the key, using it as an unlocking mechanism. I'd like to see, and I think we will see, Dylan using that to try and open potential TARDIS Is that the plural of TARDIS? TARDISes?
Or Tardai.
Or
Tardai?
We'll go Tardisai. Yeah, I think Dylan's bat in hand for a number of episodes here, so we're gonna have to see. But beyond, in terms of what's future, I mean, I still think this. I like this car alarm idea. That I think that there's something that I don't know the framework for how all this is working in Dylan's construct, but auditory confusion may at some point be a pretty cool thing. So I'd like to see that explored a little bit. But that's about all I've got for guessing at what might happen in the future.
So, in other words, what you guys are saying is that the potential for insertion is great. Oh, come on! I was trying to make a joke, guys, and I got nothing. Nothing. Do I have to go back to being Marvin the Martian?
You didn't say bat penis. That's
Yeah, in a show with that, it
great hashtag, by the way. Hashtag bat penis. Jump on it, kids.
We should put that on a shirt.
You might want to reframe that, Mike.
Oh
sure,
boy.
use that hashtag, kids.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, what other story elements we could have coming up. I wonder if I'm expecting some more locations. We've had the trespasser crazy house. We've seen the entire interior of Dylan's house, and we've been to a graveyard, and we've spent a lot of time on that walking path. I'm just wondering whether or not we're going to get to see Dylan out in public with that, with the wiffle ball bat, possibly in disguise, with that blonde wig he's got, hunting for clues out in other areas. And the other thing that could possibly happen, if Dylan went to the park and there were several people playing wiffle ball, and he actually mixed up his bat with somebody else's.
You have to be careful when a group of people have their bats out like that yours doesn't start slapping up against others. And, especially when you have power like that.
Yeah. And I think that's a fairly regular occurrence in a lot of parks in Baltimore. So this is probably something to be careful about.
Yeah, like we won't want anybody to cross streams because we know that's not a good thing.
I like your disguise idea, though, Tony. I think that's interesting. I think the blonde wig might prove to bring too much attention, though. Maybe like sunglasses and a hat, Unabomber style.
Yeah, that could do it. But it'd be interesting if he did that walking through, say, a mall or something, and he was just, using the, what if the bat could act almost like a compass, and it could lead him to things, and the energy would pull the bat, and he could use it to, find other, I'm going to call them artifacts or weapons or other information. If it could actually lead him around, that'd be pretty cool.
So he'll be thinking with his wiffle.
And we'll guide him.
Yeah,
so are we on schedule for another 2 next Friday?
I haven't
doesn't share his production schedule with us, unfortunately.
No, and actually, I know earlier today I really haven't been on Twitter too much except for tweeting out some pictures of some nasty food, but I know Dylan was at the Ravens game earlier today, and hey, I believe they won, but I haven't heard from him since then, and
the Ravens game, is that like a Renaissance Fair Harry Potter thing?
No, that would be NFL football, Mike. They play in Baltimore.
Not familiar.
it's our version of Canadian hockey. Does that help, Mike?
Okay.
Yeah, so I haven't heard from Dylan, so I don't know if we've got anything, if we've got any more shows dropping tomorrow. I was hoping that we would, have two new ones. But remember, last week when Dylan was on that radio show, he mentioned that there would only be one show dropping next week, which was last week, and then he would be taking a week off. Instead, we got two full episodes. So I don't know if we're getting anything next week or not. And if we don't get anything, then there's no talking assistant. So because there's nothing for talking assistant to talk about.
Not that would stop us, but you're correct.
Well, speaking of things going on in the talking assistant world, though, there is a hashtag talking ass t-shirt available now. Designed by Kelly Toole.
It was designed by Kelly?
So we're going to probably need to do a little bit of fact checking on that. So I think that portion we need to probably put a pin in and say maybe that's not accurate. However, what is accurate is indeed there is a Talking Ass shirt available. It is a very nice shirt, and it's available on the Zazzle site for Live 365. Correct, Mike?
For Loud and Loaded, Zazzle.com/Loud and Loaded.
Loud and Loaded. So
that, along with a Kelly Toole inspired shirt, which came out a few days ago.
Yeah,
so there's a Tony one coming soon, right?
No, I was going to say we don't need a Tony shirt.
Oh, we absolutely do. Because Mike had said, and he's a man of his word, sort of, even though he lies all the time. He said I was going to get a shirt, and I got my shirt. He said Dylan was going to get a shirt. I'm assuming the Talking Ass shirt, of course, it's the show about Dylan's show, counts there. And I believe a third person was then mentioned, Tony. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that motif is. So, what's the easiest way for folks to get to the site, Mike?
To get to the Zazzle site?
The Zazzle site.
Just Zazzle.com/Loud and Loaded. That'll take you right to the main storefront page, and you can get both of those special hashtag shirts, along with a third one coming in a couple days. Originally, I was going to release them all in a week, one each day, but then I thought the shirts wouldn't get their proper due. So we're doing them a couple days spread out.
Well, if you ask me, and this is just my opinion, I don't think anybody would want to buy a shirt inspired by me. And that's just my opinion. However, a Talking Ass shirt might be something that people might want, and a Shark Chum shirt might be something that people might want, but nothing inspired by me, pretty much. I don't think that would work.
Yeah, and I think we're going to leave it to you, Tony, to name the shirts, at all times, just when because I think that's the safest thing to do.
Oh, the Shark Chum shirt?
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering whether or not I said it wrong. Did I say it wrong?
Very well.
Did I say it correctly?
Well. Some folks don't, so we're going to stay with the people that know how to do this right.
So where are we at, Mike? This is your show now,
Well,
so.
I mean, I feel like I've pretty much covered everything. Did you guys want to add anything to this?
Yeah. Do we have any last thoughts? I'm raking over my brains. Well, I think this is the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we've had two back-to-back very subdued episodes. Extremely subdued, as in no paranoia sense and no tension as far as Dylan being on the prowl. So I'm just wondering whether or not I mean, this one, I don't want to say it ended with a bang, because it didn't, but is it just a sign of some more heavier activity or action-packed shows again? Um,
I think you need the calm to appreciate the storm.
hmm. But but there is no lens flare. I think you guys hit it on the head. One of the biggest artistic achievements was the cars and how that was all framed, and you know um, everybody. It was almost like an anti jump scare, where when you come to the realization that um, the object was off camera, the car that was actually zapped by the bat. Um, but yeah, um, that was the only other thing that I was thinking about earlier. As far as last
Kelly,
thoughts.
you want to throw in there?
Just at the end of the line, and since you're in the t-shirt business these days, Mike, and kind of working through there a little bit, a quiet tinkle might be something else to consider, because at the end of the episode, Dylan made reference to that he had heard the tinkle, but it must have been a very quiet one, because I didn't. After repeated viewings, it's subtle. So quiet tinkle, since you're in the t-shirt business these days.
I like it. I think it could be a great T-shirt or the next Enya album, and either way, I feel like it works.
So there was, Dylan tinkled next to his car. Is that what you're trying to say, Kelly?
I was just saying that Dylan. No, I'm saying it was quiet. He he mentioned tinkling and said it was quiet, and it indeed was quiet, because I didn't even hear it. Anything for you to wrap us up, oh host?
No, I think that's it. I was just ruminating on what you said about the quiet tinkle, and I think that could be an excellent shirt. Why don't you viewers let us know what you think? In the meantime, checking out the Talking Ass shirt, and make sure you tweet about us. Hashtag Talking Ass, hashtag Bad Penis. And for Tony, Kelly, and myself, I think we can wrap this one up. Have a good evening.
Just like Dylan should wrap that bat.